Let's go. All right, folks. So on to the next episode. Today, I got my man, Jeff Cloonan. I met Jeff in Dallas a few months ago at lunch when we went out with coaches lunch at Tom Ferry Summit. And man, it was a great meeting in general. I mean, I talked with so many agents that I hadn't met before, some that I knew through coaching. You were really interesting to me because of where you're based. And I feel like I really got along chatting with you. And I'm really happy that you had some time to do this interview, Jeff.
Yeah, Nima, thank you for having me on, man. Absolutely. And as you said, I'm Jeffrey Cloonan. I work with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, and I am in the beautiful, beautiful Vail Valley of Colorado. So that's absolutely awesome. Gorgeous. 57 degrees out right now. Just wow. Gorgeous. Yep. Perfect. Clear day, not a cloud in the sky.
I think I may have told you when we were having lunch that my dream has always been to have property in Colorado. I love the seasons, just, how the states run, for example. Obviously, my business being here in the Silicon Valley region of California, I always have a goal to be able to buy some property there in the future, just because I love the area and I just think it's so beautiful. Going to Colorado, I feel like everything looks like a screensaver. Right. It's just so gorgeous out there, And
yeah, you're absolutely right. I've been here for 18 years. Right. And I got to tell you, I walk out on my back patio and it's different every single day looking at this incredible vista mountain range. And, the way that the sun hits it and the alpenglow that takes place, it is mind-boggling. People go out and go, wow, it's so beautiful out here. Don't you get used to it? I'm like, no, I never get used to it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. Being able to do what you love in an area that you love too, that's not too shabby. So I was curious, right? I mean, so many agents that I chat with they usually sell to primary homeowners, right? For the folks that are listening, individuals buy a home for themselves to live in for the most part of the time. And sometimes we have something called a secondary home, right? Where they can purchase it for investment reasons, whether it's to rent it out or, have a vacation home at the beach or in the mountains. Now, where Jeff is located, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, it's primarily a secondary home market.
It is.
That was really interesting to me.
It is secondary and third dairy and fourth dairy in some cases.
How did you get into that? Yeah. How did you get into like that specific market, secondary homes,
Well, I was in the restaurant business forever and ever. And when I transitioned into real estate, that's just the nature of the beast, living in the Vail Valley. Vail has, 2 seasons. It's ski season or it's summer golf season. And then there's in between seasons, which is where I am right now, before all the people come in and start skiing and the mountains start opening. And after they've punched all the greens and closed up the golf for the season. So the secondary market is exciting. It's also challenging though, because, we have a lot of transient people who come into town and then leave. A lot of people come here on vacation and you have a very, very short window in order to get in front of buyers and sellers. And so it has all of its own challenges, but a lot of its excitement as well.
Ah, okay. And I'm assuming ski season's a lot busier than golf season out over there?
You know what? It is just about the same. I got to tell you, there are just as many people who come in the summertime to beat the heat. People are our Texas friends, our people from Mexico City, our friends from Florida and California, and even, Midwest, where it gets to be super duper hot out there in Kansas City and Iowa and all those places like that. They come and rest their heads here for the summer because there's very little humidity. Even when it's 90 degrees, it doesn't pack that punch that it does when, you're sitting in a whole bunch of humidity piled on top of that heat. So, and then at night, even in August, you want to bring a sweater with you when you go out to dinner because it gets nice and chilly and into the 60s. So.
Wow. Okay. So that makes sense. I mean, if you're like you had mentioned, like you're living in Dallas, let's say you're an oil executive in Houston, or you live in Dallas, or like you said, Oklahoma City. I mean, those summers I've been out there for some of those TF conferences and they can be pretty brutal. So that makes a lot of sense. I didn't want that crisp mountain air and to get away. Okay. So that makes sense now that you mention it that way. Yep. How long have you lived in Colorado for?
So I have lived here since 2004. October 1st was 18 years. And I've certainly put my roots down. Originally, I just came for one season to ski, and that story is told over and over by thousands of people here in this valley. You come for they say you come for the skiing and you stay for the summers. And so that is really the way that my world worked when I came to town. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Damn, you make me want to get over there as soon as I can. I mean, you being in the former restaurant industry exec too, I'm sure you know all the good places to eat, all the good watering holes in town.
I do indeed.
That's
Yes.
awesome. And how long have you been in Tom's coaching, Jeff?
So I've been in Tom's coaching now for will be 3 years in December.
Nice.
So absolutely love it. Really exciting, dynamic. I have my coach is actually Patrick Ferry, his brother, and I'm pretty fortunate to have him as my fearless leader. And he's certainly made me a better realtor than I was when I first got on with him.
Nice. Okay. That's cool. So I mean, with us in the Silicon Valley area over here, right? I mean, you know your market, I know mine. I'm curious to like compare and contrast.
Yeah.
We're dealing with the current economic headwinds, let's call them, compared to what you're doing. So over here, right in my area, I'd like to think that the stock market has more to do with buyers' purchasing power than the actual mortgage rates. Because we all know how low tech stocks are. I mean, full disclosure, my portfolio is down 30%. I know some people's portfolios that are down 40%. And these individuals usually take those vested stocks, they liquidate them, and they use that for the down payment. Now, since their stocks are down so much, especially in the tech sector, a lot of folks have pulled back on buying because of this. For their primary home. So they're still renting and they're just going to kind of wait and see. A lot of folks thought since we're going up to like 7% mortgage rates, they assumed that prices would just drop and then they could get in and get into the market that way. But at least in where I live, the inventory has stayed so steady, right? When individuals don't need to sell. I mean, they have so much equity and they have a 2 or 3% mortgage rate. What's going to incentivize them to sell that home and take on a 7% mortgage rate? So that's kind of like the dance that we're dealing with out over here. I'm curious in your market, how that's the same or how that's different.
We have two markets here. We have a down valley market, which is kind of where all the common folk, the families, the children and parents live. And then we have our resort market or our up valley market. And that is full of our secondary homeowners, our people who come and go. And when we're talking about the down valley market for a second, these are homes that are, our single family homes started around $1 million and they go up from there. And we have seen inventory growing, which is quite nice because there are less buyers in the marketplace because the people down here, down valley where I'm sitting right now, will be looking to get a mortgage. However, the people that are in our resort market are primarily cash buyers. And those cash buyers, actually, we don't get affected like the Silicon Valley and the stock market and stuff like that, because we are finding that everything is being done in cash in the resort. To give you an example, in 2021, we did $4.6 billion in sales.
Whoa.
So 4.6 billion is only about 1,100 transactions. It's unbelievable. And of that, 74% of it, or 3.4 billion, was done in cash. So it's really mind-boggling to see people just transferring millions and millions of dollars like that, billions actually at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we are seeing still low inventory, and that low inventory is keeping our prices quite steady right now. We're not expecting to see any huge drops in value in these properties. The $5 million home is still $5 million. The only difference is that there's some negotiating that is going on now. There is inspections that we can get through and actually get an inspection resolution done instead
Yeah.
of just kind of saying, sorry, you can't do an inspection, man.
You got 5 minutes to see the house. We got somebody
Right,
else coming.
right.
Get out.
So
Deciding.
we
Get
are
out.
seeing a more normalized market, but we are still seeing good values for both the buyer and the seller.
Oh, I see. So if they're all cash, Jeff, would you say that, let's say last year compared to now, in 2021, they were dealing with other cash buyers, right? And
Yeah,
in 2022, maybe they're still dealing with cash buyers, but there's less of them. So
but they're
can you
less.
say that they can make a better deal this year than they would have last year?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Case in point, again, we did about 1,200 transactions last year.
Uh-huh.
Like to date, 1,200. And to date, right now, we have 917 transactions that have gone across the finish line. So less transactions, but still great deals for both the
Yeah.
buyer and the seller.
Have you had any, you don't have to name any names, but like, like any celebrities or C-level types of folks that you've helped, in the process buying a home?
Yep. So I've certainly had some real big guns who have come
Yeah.
in and pulled the trigger on property. One of the other things that I do part-time, or I used to do part-time, was ski instruct.
Oh,
And
nice.
and I was the proud realtor to ski around for 4 days with a gal by the name of Camila Cabello.
Uh-huh.
And so that she's obviously a total rock star singer performer, and they had a wonderful family, and it was just a really cool experience for sure.
Wow,
Didn't get
that's
to sell
pretty
any
cool.
real estate though.
Yeah, I was literally watching something on YouTube, like a comedy thing. I think it was one of these late night hosts, and I noticed that she was a recent interview I saw in the search bar. So that's how I know the name. My wife
Yeah.
knows a lot more about the pop culture stuff than I do, but I know
Mhm.
exactly who you're talking about because I saw it on my YouTube search results. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, very cool. And we see lots of stars roll through.
Yeah.
We've had everybody from the Kardashians to the LeBron Jameses to the Stanley Cup winners roll through town. To we get it all for sure.
Wow, that's really
Yeah,
cool, man. I mean, it's a small community, I'm assuming, right?
it is.
That Vail area, and Vail and Aspen, are those like, would you say that that's in the same market? Somebody like me who hasn't been to that area, that part of Colorado, I don't know if it's.
Well, there is a different market dynamic between the Vail Valley and Aspen. Aspen
Yeah.
has a very, very high price point. And look, we're in a very high price point too. In Vail Village, you can expect to spend anywhere from $2,200 a square foot to over $6,000 a square foot for secondary property.
Wow. Okay.
So it gets a little pricey for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
But what we're doing is we're seeing a switch from people looking at our properties as investment, and they are more so leaning towards lifestyle. And they're buying that lifestyle, that amazing backcountry skiing exercise, and the hiking in the summertime, and the fly fishing, and the whitewater rafting, and the list goes on. I mean, the mountain biking and all that good stuff. Four-wheeling and Jeep tours, and then just 4x4ing out in the backcountry. It's big business, and so people absolutely have embraced that a great deal.
That makes sense. I mean, especially, I know you see in the headlines with RTO, right? Return to office. Some of the bigger employers, like where I live, and Apple, Google, right? They're saying, hey, come to the office, Meta 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But with some people, my assumption is, especially at the higher level in the C-suite or some of the director types, they have a little bit more flexibility with their work schedules and being able, as you had mentioned, to sell the lifestyle where they can get away with their family, work, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours in the day, and then have that time to do those things. Makes that can make a lot of sense for them.
It certainly does. And It's pretty darn easy to get here too. You don't have to fly into Denver. We have a airport, the Eagle Regional Airport, that has direct flights in from Dallas, from LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, especially in the wintertime. And so we can see people come in and out of town very, very easily. So that makes it that much more attainable. And they've just added more and more and more flights. So
there you go. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next, after this call, I'm definitely going to check to see if there's anything out of San Jose directly.
There you go. That's right.
Directly to that area.
That's the code that you need.
Okay. I'll remember that. EGE. And you had mentioned winter. And when we were waiting for the mics to warm up, we were chatting a little bit. And in the back of my head, I was thinking about, I wonder how Jeff's market treats him in the wintertime, like when you have to do open houses, let's say, and stuff like that. Me being in obviously coastal California, although I've been in snow a lot, I don't have to deal with it with driving to work or doing open houses and things like that. How do the winter months affect your business? Is there anything that it affects? I don't know how many open houses you're doing there, and if that's like frowned upon, or things like that.
Nope. We love doing the open houses in the wintertime. There's it's a lot of fun because you're meeting people on chairlifts and then taking them and showing them property, skiing into property.
Yeah.
From the slopes to go and take a look at something. And so I think that I find that there are more serious buyers in the wintertime, because when they're closing in the winter, they're also packing in the winter, and they are, moving in the snow and the weather. And so I think that those are the buyers who are really committed to purchasing a home and starting to enjoy the lifestyle. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes people, maybe even by the end of the year, maybe for tax, I wonder if you ever deal with things like this for tax purposes. Like let's say they're selling an apartment complex in Atlanta, and they're doing a 1031 tax exchange.
Yep.
To buy something in Colorado, and maybe for the year, you deal with
happens all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. But what we do see a great deal of people who are coming into town. They want to ski. And the more time they spend here, the more they think about how wonderful it would be to just have a place. It's fun to show off out here.
Yeah,
it's a great time to say, come on out to my house in Vail. You are going to love it. And people do that all day long. We see a lot of new construction going on right now too. So, we show a whole bunch of stuff that's under contract right now, but some of it won't even close until 2024. Whoa. Because of the fact that they're building it. Yeah. And I think that's another good testament as to how strong our secondary market is that people are purchasing, putting non-refundable deposits down, and then, hurrying up and waiting, basically, to close. And so I think that shows that our values aren't really going anywhere.
Yeah, especially as you had mentioned. I mean, as they say, there's levels to this, and you're dealing with your standard folks, getting conventional financing for their first home, building that equity, climbing that ladder, as we all got to do. And you're dealing with a lot of these big time folks already. I'm sure you have some people like that, but you're dealing with a lot of these people that are just bringing money, right, paying all cash. And for them, if they're not having to deal with 30 other buyers, that might be an interesting opportunity. Are you seeing anything, any decreases, like let's say with your international clients from during, let's say 2020, 2021, when we're in the middle of COVID to now? Any changes in that?
Absolutely. And when we were in COVID, for instance, some of my clients up in Canada, for instance, they really decided to completely bow out for the mere reason of the fact that they were so strict through COVID. Yeah. And getting into the United States was next to impossible, really. Yeah. And so they really put the brakes on. And we saw all of our Australians, and we have a ton of Australians that come here. And that was a real big downfall in a lot of the real estate that usually happens from that client. We just didn't see the Australians come to town for the last couple of years as well.
Okay. Yeah. And you had mentioned, right, those lockdowns. I mean, they were, like you said, right, super strict. And I'm sure a lot of states in like in the US here, like I know some Californians, for example, who went and bought in Boise or Colorado or other places like that, right? Because it was just more open and more free. And we had to deal with a lot of these, really crushing, sometimes strict laws.
Yeah. I
Hindsight's
mean, you know,
2020.
we went through COVID and we were still seeing people buy property, and they were buying property sight unseen, as in they would go, we would do a video tour with iPhone, and they would write an offer, they would close. And then in some cases, one of my guys didn't even see the property for 6 months after he closed.
Wow.
Yeah, really
That's
unbelievable.
so interesting. I've never had something like that. I mean, you hear these things, but I've never experienced something like this. So for me, I mean, for you, it's another walk in the park. But I'm like, wow.
It was really something. And you know, and there are lots of brokers in this valley who tell the same story. Really pretty amazing.
And since you guys are in the secondary home market, my assumption is that relative to other mountain towns that I know about, the first two that pop in my mind are Boise and Bozeman. And I've heard that they had huge increases during the pandemic, but they also had huge decreases.
I heard
Boise,
this
right,
as well.
leading the country, I believe, with price reductions over 65%.
Yep.
Now, how is these economic headwinds and stuff, how is that affecting Vail relative to like some of those other mountain towns?
Well, you know, I think the best way to describe it is there were some sellers out there who were absolutely just shooting for the stars and pricing their properties ridiculous. And buyers were buying that.
Mm-hmm.
However,
California, right? I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. I'm thinking Boise, right? California, our average selling price in my area, for example, being 1.3, 1.4, you'll go to Boise, and let's just say like a year ago was 400. Now they're complaining that it's 650, but someone from California will be like, can I take two? Right. I mean, I guess it's relative, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's what I thought.
And that's the way our world was too. So what happened was, you know, we have seen a significant amount of price reductions, but the price reductions, I think, are just reflective of not so much prices going down, but more so the seller realizing that they missed that tsunami, that giant wave, and now they're just bringing it down to a more suitable and more saleable price.
I think the same thing is going on in where I live as well, Jeff. I mean, they're looking at those comparables from, let's say, March and April, or maybe meeting halfway. Like, well, let's just try this, and they'll have to do 1 or 2 price reductions in order for them to get a strong, ready, able, and willing buyer. We're about 35%. I did my recent market update. I threw it on YouTube, and then people were asking me why I think that was the case, and I think it's just the outdated comps.
Yeah, I also did the same thing. I gave a market update on my YouTube, and really actually just pinpointed it as this is the reason why we are seeing what's happening right now. It's not because we're losing value in our real estate market. It's because all the people who were completely out of their minds to begin with, listing it where they were listing it, finally have come down to earth. And you know what? There are still some people who are like, I don't need to sell. And I love them.
Right.
And so it's like, all right, good. Well, I don't need to market it then.
Yeah. You'll wait. I mean, they know who you are, right? Whenever they're ready. And I guess that's what's been playing with the whole inventory levels. Sellers just kind of wait. And I think at the end of the day, you and I, what we do, it's like trying to close in the delta, taking them from Buyers Boulevard and Seller Street, and just trying to bring them to that intersection as close as we can. That's the art of the deal, right? That's what we do, you and I.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I really appreciate your time, Jeff. This was great. It was very fascinating for me. I find, like, individuals like you, I geek out over these things, right? With the data and just where you're at. And I'm sure you're on social media. Which social media platforms would you say you're most active with?
It's definitely my YouTube. My YouTube is living in Vail, Colorado.
Living in Vail. Okay.
And if you go there and you can subscribe and you can really follow the content of a matter of a fact stuff. I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't sit there and blast out a million different percentages and averages and blah, blah, blah. I just don't find that our buyers and sellers at this point really care about that stuff. I think they really just care about the meat and potatoes, what's selling, what's not selling, why things are the way they are, and what we can expect in the months and year to come.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, and especially your YouTube channel. I'm always curious to see what other strong agents are doing in their markets. I'll definitely be following. If you can say that one more time.
I got to tell you though, the Tom Ferry Network is they always want you on your phone. They always want you in a reel. They literally never ever want you to not be recording or not be recording. So that's one of the things that is in my new plan is getting a lot more content on our Instagram and our Facebook and Snapchat and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, they've been beating this to, like over the head, like even with the TikToks and stuff. And I'm like, there's just way too much. There's way too much, right?
Absolutely. But I got to tell you, I will go out to a restaurant and somebody will come up to me and go, "Hey, you're that guy from YouTube. You came up on my YouTube feed the other day."
Nice.
And I was like, yes, I love that. Here is my business card.
And you're that guy.
Yeah,
that guy.
That's right.
Yeah. Are you taking on new clients? As like those are like the favorite things that we like. You're that guy, and are you taking on new clients?
Yep.
Hey,
brilliant.
Jeff, one more time. Can you please say I'm going to write down your YouTube channel. If you can say it one more time.
Sure. It's living in Vail, Colorado.
All right. That's easy to remember. Living in Vail, Colorado. Yep. I'm going to include that in the show notes as well, in case folks want to tune in for that. Cool. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, Jeff.
I'm glad you invited me on here. I had a great time, as always.
Yeah, I'll definitely be knowing anyone who's looking for that secondary home market in Colorado.
You now have got to actually book that ticket and come on out here, because I will style you out with discounts and discount lift tickets and the whole bit. I'm pretty dialed in. I know
you're already my agent in Colorado, so that's good to know.
I like it.
I appreciate you, Jeff.
All right.
I hope you have a productive rest of your week, and thanks again for jumping on this call. So go sell some houses.
Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.